Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll get started in just a minute. It's so great to have all of you. Thanks for supporting our Messiah Sing-Along this afternoon. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to log on, and in about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, we'll get started with today's discussion. We have with us, as you can see, Michael O'Neill, Brent Davis, who you just saw and heard, Peter Hildebrandt, and Allan Kennedy. If you have questions as we go along in today's webinar, feel free to enter those into the chat. I'll be watching that as we go through the time together. And if you have questions that haven't been addressed, we'll address those towards the end of today's seminar if time permits. I say seminar, but I really mean it as more of a panel discussion. We have people continuing to log on. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us for this discussion time following our broadcast of our virtual Messiah Sing-Along. Well, I'm Cami Stevens. I'm the Executive Director for the Michael O'Neill Singers. I already see a comment. Thank you very much, Judith. I appreciate all of you for watching and participating and then joining us for this discussion. So again, my name is Cami. I'm with the Michael O'Neill Singers as the Executive Director. And I'm here right now, as you can see, with Dr. Michael O'Neill, soloist Brent Davis, bass player Peter Hildebrandt, and audience member, MOS Chorus Member, and longtime sing-along participant, Allan Kennedy. Again, thank you for joining us. Michael, would you like to introduce our special guests for this afternoon?
Well, thank you, Cami. I think you just did. But they are Brent Davis, who, of course, you heard doing the beautiful bass baritone solos there in our Messiah Sing-Along, and Peter Hildebrandt, who is our double bass player. Also, he was the double bass section in the chamber orchestra because we had one double bass player there. And then Allan Kennedy, as I think you mentioned, Cami, who is a long-time MOS Chorus Member and has sung, I believe, Allan, in all of our sing-along Messiahs that we have done. And he sings bass. So we've got a bass soloist, a bass player, and a bass chorister. So as someone pointed out earlier, we have our bases covered on this. So sorry about that. But I want to start by just asking each of you a question. I'm going to start with Brent. Brent, I'm sure you have sung many Messiahs because you've sung several of them for the Michael O'Neill Singers and our sing-along Messiahs over the years. Sure. But do you have any idea, maybe even about how many Messiahs you have sung, both in sing-alongs or in regular concerts, and maybe how that experience is different?
You know, I would say between both of those, almost a dozen. I'm still young. I still have a lot of Messiahs ahead of me. Yeah, so, you know, singing Messiah is such a great experience, both as a sing-along and also, you know, in more of a concert version. But I would say my favorite is definitely the sing-along. It's something we're participating in together. It's just beautiful to all sing together and all those voices coming together. It's just a heavenly moment. So that's definitely my favorite Messiah type.
Yeah, well, and you know, the way I ask you soloists to do in our sing-alongs is to go ahead and sing the choruses as well. So you were standing there and singing along, where if you were in a normal performance, say of Messiah, the soloist would not be singing the choruses as well.
Very true.
Now, what I don't know is how much you're actually using your voice when you're standing there singing the choruses, if you've still got some solos left.
You know, that's a really good question. I like to sing as much as I can sing. So the more I sing in a concert, the better and freer it feels. So Any chance to sing along with the chorus is fantastic for
It's a
me.
good way to, yeah, to keep the voice going there, as you say, keep it warmed up. Well, now, Peter, you have played a number of Messiah sing-alongs for me, as well as many other concerts. You're my go-to double bass player. There's no question about that. And so I wanted to ask you, the with a sing-along, I'm not facing the orchestra. You know, you folks are looking at the back of me rather than the front of me. And I wanted to know, how does that feel different? And please don't say that it is much easier when you're not having to look at my conducting.
Well, I was going to say that we don't look at you anyway. So no, it is different. When you, as a bass player, I always sit in the same place in the orchestra, right? So I'm always on the right side of the conductor. And when the conductor turns around, now the beats are all backwards, and the things you're looking for just don't come in the same way. Right. And so, you have to pay a lot more attention to the other musicians and making sure that you at least stay together, and hope that the concertmaster is watching you from his vantage point. No, we do try to watch you, but it is definitely a different experience to keep up. And also, we get all the voices out in the audience, which are singing at different tempi, and they aren't necessarily aligned with what the choir is doing, because if there's a time delay there. And so that's one of the hardest things, is to keep the tempo with what we're seeing with your beat, rather than what we're hearing through our ears. So that's
well, yeah, and that's very true. And of course, one of the reasons that we have the small chorus up on stage, which is Kaleidoscope, our chamber ensemble of 34, 36 voices from within our larger 140 voice Michael O'Neill Singers Group. The reason we have them on stage is primarily to help the orchestra have voices to hear, where you're not just hearing the sound from out in the room, because as you say, it's such a large room, and the delay, and it's a challenge. But now, Allan, you as a chorus member, and you were not up on the stage, you're out there in the room with everyone. How does that feel? Because, I've always done the sing-alongs from up on the stage conducting. How does it feel as a singer when you've got 750 people surrounding you?
Well, I mean, that's an excellent question. It's the sheer scale of the sound of 850 people singing something they love to sing, and something that really fills them with the spirit of the season, is an incredible rush. The adrenaline rush, the endorphin rush, all those things that make the season wonderful are really encapsulated in that particular moment when the first big chorus starts. It really is. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a blast. I know that's a technical musical term, but the diversity of singers we have really adds to a mixture that is really not only multi-generational, multi-ethnic, multi-religious. It's a real world kind of experience.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that I have noticed, and I've heard from you and others who are especially out there greeting the singers as they come in the room, for the sing-along. One thing I've heard is that there's such joy and expectation expressed from the people. I mean, they're so happy just to be there. And the fact that we were not able to do this in person this year was disappointing. But then, as we realized, we had this video of last year's performance, and we thought, well, why can't we just go ahead and do that as a YouTube video and do it as a premiere? Now it's going to be shown through the end of December, through December 31st, and Cammie will say something more about that a little bit later. But we wanted to give people all around the country and even the world the opportunity to sing along. And so, well, do any of you, you've all been involved in sing-alongs. Have you had any interesting experiences, either funny or scary, or like when Peter, you can't see where the beat is from the conductor, and you've got to look at the other players. And I like what you said about the feeling of the looking at the concertmaster in this, because it is a chamber orchestra, and that's what chamber music is. You folks are always looking at each other and playing off of each other that way. And in something like a Sing-Along Messiah, you probably have to do it even more, since you can't always see the conductor. But
yeah, it's interesting. One of the funny things for me that has happened, because these sing-alongs are usually brought together on the day of. Most of us have played the music before, and so there's not a lot of rehearsal time. In some cases, there's no rehearsal time. I had a situation where we started playing one of the solo pieces, but the score has it in a couple of different keys, and the orchestra is playing it in one key, and the soloist was trying to sing it in another key. And we just had to stop. There was no going back. We had to stop and start the whole thing over again.
I have my own start-stop story, singing The People That Walked in Darkness. About halfway through it, Maestro O'Neill was conducting, and I came in about one measure too soon. So we went back. I don't know if you remember that. But I never made that mistake again.
Yeah. It wasn't this time. It was
no. It was many years ago. Never made that mistake again.
That's right. I asked you back even after
You
that.
You did. I give my best.
Allan, I'm sure, Allan, you've had some experiences with people out there in the room.
Well, it's surprising. It goes very smoothly. Everybody's happy. One of the positive things is that because people have been doing it for so long, particularly in that particular room at the Roswell Methodist Sanctuary, they get to know each other. And as they come into the room and they go to their section, you see people jumping up and hugging and kissing one another. I know we can't do it nowadays, but we used to. And the energy, it reminds me of an elementary school the last day before Christmas vacation. You ever walked into a school like that and you can feel the buzz? Mm-hmm. Same thing in that room. And they're so excited that finally when the solos start, that you can feel it, the energy is palpable. So it's I've never had a bad experience that I can think of. Everybody's been very kind and very nice, not angry at all.
Oh, that's wonderful.
This experience, Michael, today got me very close to that feeling. Just seeing that on the screen today on YouTube and being here with you guys. So Merry Christmas. Thank you for putting this together.
Oh yeah. Well,
great.
Thank you. I mean, there is so much that we are all of us, all of you folks who are watching and involved in this webinar today and listening to us speak. We all know that there is so much that is missing from our holiday season that would normally be there. But we still have the opportunities to have some special times and to share experiences with each other. And that's one thing we discovered with the Michael O'Neill Singers when we started doing all of our rehearsals online after we realized that we couldn't meet in person, couldn't have live concerts. So we now have singers, not just from the Atlanta area, but people coming and singing from 25 states. And I think, Cammie can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think it's 7 or 8 countries.
Counting the United States, we're up to 8 countries now.
8 countries have participated
5 continents
in our online performances or rehearsals and concerts. Cammie, have any questions or comments come in?
There have been a few. One that came in earlier today was, Brent, I'm going to direct this to you, but this could be applicable to you others who've participated in Messiah before. Approximately how many times each year in your lifetime have you sung your Messiah solos? And do you have to practice and rehearse the same each year to get ready every December, or at, the case of the other parts, other times of the year?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I answered the first part of that earlier.
Oh, sorry.
But as far as preparing for it, for me, I start at least 4 weeks ahead of time to really try to get it in my voice. It's a beautiful piece to sing, but it's very technical. So it takes some time to get it in the voice and in the throat, in the body. So yeah.
Well, and also you're really a lyric baritone.
Right.
And so quite often these solos might be sung by someone who is truly more of a basso,
Right. Yeah.
but you do a beautiful job with it. But I would imagine, as a former singer myself, I know that part of your preparation would be then getting your voice ready for that tessitura.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I enjoy singing in that tessitura. It just a little different approach. So
Yeah.
not a fun thing.
You know, I've been having a special place in my heart for the Messiah Sing-Along ever since I was a kid, because when I was 10, we were living in Boulder, Colorado, and my parents would drag us down to the community auditorium to do the Messiah Sing-Along. It was I remember it being just this unbelievably huge crowd of people. And I sang soprano. So like I know all the soprano parts to the Messiah. We do it every year. And then obviously my voice changed once in there. But I never dreamed that I would actually be able to be up and playing one of the instruments for the Messiah. And so, it was actually kind of a lifelong thing. And I started just after college. I was playing in a pretty rinky-dink little orchestra that played the Messiah. I was so excited to do it, and discovered how difficult the piece is to play. All the key changes, and it was a terrible performance. But it was an eye-opener for me about what it takes, and the stamina, as Tammy, you were saying earlier, is really critical. Most of the performances of the Messiah do part one, and then they do the Hallelujah chorus. But there are some organizations that will do more. And I remember a couple of years, 2-3 years ago, another season of Messiahs. I might do 3 or 4 Messiahs in a season, and I had just finished the last one, which was the big one, and it was with a wonderful Korean choir in the Duluth area, and they had done like 2 of the 3 parts. So it was a long performance, and I was absolutely exhausted at the end of that performance. It was like playing a Beethoven symphony. And I turned to my fellow bassists and I said, I am so thankful that's over. And just as I said that, somebody walked up from the audience and said, hey, our church is doing the Messiah next Saturday. Would you come and play for us? I was like, no, sure, I'd be happy to. So it's, and it's interesting with COVID, the stamina part is really important. I did 1 Messiah performance already this year. But in order to get ready for it, literally, I had to play a couple hours a day to be able to get the strength that I needed, because, frankly, I haven't been doing enough playing to keep the strength up to be able to do that kind of a performance.
I agree with you about the stamina, and for me, the breath control, these long phrases that you don't always get to sing music with this very long phrases and melismatic passages. And I sang Messiah at St. Luke's Episcopal last year. Was supposed to sing it again this year, and beautiful performance, but that was not a sing-along, and this was a sing-along, and it's just they're both equally just fantastic. Wow, I really missed having it in my life, live, and being there together with you all this year.
Yeah, and Dick, I saw your comment just there. Thank you very much. I said former singer because I sure don't do any solo work anymore, but I do sing in rehearsal some. So I appreciate your comment.
Fantastic singer.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm not fishing. I'm not fishing.
Give me some background, Michael.
I'll vouch for you.
I will tell you this, folks. Peter, you mentioned about the tiredness that you felt, after finishing, and I was saying to you fellows before we went live with this, that conducting a Messiah sing-along is the most exhausting thing that I ever conduct. It's not the longest concert, because when we just do part 1 plus Hallelujah, it's an hour and 10 minutes or something like that, maybe. But holding 750 to 850 people together, people behind me, people in front of me. And as you said, Peter, we usually do this with very little rehearsal. We'll bring the orchestra in usually at 1:30 in the afternoon, kind of touch things for a few minutes, with the things that the orchestra is doing by itself. The soloists then come in and we just make sure that we have tempi worked out. We know what we're going to do there. And then we clear the room by about 2:15 after about 45 minutes or so we can start letting the hundreds and hundreds of people in, and then we come back out and we perform it. So it's really just kind of throwing it all together, but that's what makes it so much fun.
I have another question from the attendees today. Back a few minutes ago, someone said, Peter and Brent, how closely does the bass violin line mimic or lead or follow Brent's bass voice line? If that makes sense, is what she said. What do y'all think?
Well, you want to take that, Brent, or you want me to?
Maybe the People That Walked in Darkness would be a good example.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's often an interplay between the voices. You know, the cello and bass are continuo part support, and basically providing the tuning note. Hopefully, the tenor soloist is on top of or the bass soloist is on top of the tuning note. You know, and so we're basically providing tempo and we're providing a pitch, and then we try to get out of the way for the most part. But that said, during the choruses, you probably know, because you guys sing it, that the bass line follows pretty directly with what the bass line in the chorus is. So it really depends. But you know, that means, you know, we've got to be really attuned to what Michael is doing when he's, you know, when there's a soloist, because his job is to follow Brent. Our job is to follow Michael. And you know, and so if Michael twitches in a strange way, we might come in early. And so, you know, it is definitely an interplay. It was interesting listening to that playback of last year's performance. There were a couple of times where I know that Brent would have preferred to go a little slower, and the orchestra was like pushing him along. You know, and I'm sure that Michael felt very much caught in the middle of that. But you know, he's the great moderator, of course.
Well, it was kind of fun. I noticed one spot, the camera. I wish the camera had been someplace else, but it showed me when I turned and was not the bass. I was not looking at the bass player, but I was looking at the cello, the two cello players, and I was pointing right at them to try to get that tempo steady. And but that's part of the fun of it. You know,
there's so many shades and variations of those tempi. It's definitely tough, especially walking in same day and setting and going.
Yeah.
So that's the tough part, but also it's exciting.
Oh, it is. It is.
And trying to keep 850 people with the correct tempo is not an easy chore either. Hence your humorous comment at the beginning of the performance, watch the stick. Because you know, people can start running away with this thing, and it can get interesting. So that's one of the things you keep the audience well engaged and use humor, because, you know, if it's too heavy, folks won't come back, but they know they're there to sing seriously and they want to do it well. And you do a good job of making sure they do that, which is probably why you're so daggone tired at the end of it. Well,
the, you know, ending with something like Hallelujah, the Hallelujah chorus is such an amazing thing. And I love, as I'm conducting that, looking out at all the people in the room, because I see such joy on the faces of the people as they are singing that. And, you know, we have had people tell us sometimes in the past that their Christmas, their holiday season would not be complete without a performance of and hopefully a sing-along, preferably a sing-along performance of Messiah. You know, we have always had people, not just from the Atlanta area, but people would drive from all around to come to our Messiah sing-alongs. I remember there was a couple, Cammie, was it Mobile, Alabama?
No, Anniston, Alabama, maybe.
Okay, Anniston,
Alabama. I can't remember.
And it was a couple, actually, I think a Jewish couple who had lived in New York and had always, their holiday season was not complete without going to a performance of Messiah when they were in New York. And they just loved the work. And so when they moved to Anniston, somehow they discovered that we were doing that. And so for for years, maybe even last year, they were there with us, but they always drive over for Messiah Sing-Along.
I think that's one of the silver linings this year. And we've heard some of those comments already on our chat on YouTube and in the chat today about there are some silver linings to offering an online sing-along. It's easier to get to and easier to access.
That's right.
And Michael, you already said it, but since this Messiah broadcast will be on demand now through the end of the month, I'll be interested to see how many people from how many places are able to join the sing-along in their own space and time.
Yeah. Well, and for those of you who are listening to us now, please share the word with your friends. It will be available just on demand now. Now that we've done the premiere of the sing-along, you can go back anytime through the end of the year. Well, it has been wonderful meeting with you folks today. Thank you for being part of this experience. I hope it has added something to your holiday season. It certainly has to mine. And got any final comments that you wish to make? Anything about?
We have one question
Okay.
from one of our audience members, Eric. And Eric, I was just about to ask you to please type your question in the chat if you don't mind. We'll stand by for that.
Sure.
And while we're waiting on that, I did enjoy singing the tenor solos today along with my buddy Nathan Munson. That was the joy. I was here in my office and really had a good time.
Wow. Well, you've got the range. You could do it.
And I was singing all the soprano solos too.
All right, that's right.
Former soprano.
I just saw a comment go by from an Anita Prado, who I knew as growing up as a kid, and she said she was a soprano when I was a soprano. So that's great.
And Allan, you didn't have anyone that you had to corral and move into the right section or anything like that. So what were you doing? Just sitting and singing?
Pretty much. After I get everybody seated, I go back to the back and I sit down and or stand as it would appropriately and sing. And it's nice standing in the back sometimes because you really get to hear the sound well. But I stick with my part. I don't sing tenor, and God knows I'm not doing soprano.
Well, I don't know if Eric is with us now. Eric, I'm going to open up your mic. If you have a question for us, go ahead and ask it. I'm not sure if Eric is still with us. So
yes,
oh, great.
I'm still here. I just wanted to say it was a fabulous performance. I'm a member of the Masterworks Chorus of the Palm Beaches. You may know a friend of mine, Jay and Joanne Osborne. They're the ones who told me about this, and I was so thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for being here meaningful to us. And Cam, you got any final words to say to folks?
I do. Again, thank you for joining us. That is the most important. It means a great deal to us. It means everything to us right now that you're supporting our art online with, watching our videos and experience them and sharing them with others. As you know, today's event and all of our online events are without fees. We're trying to limit that right now, but it's not without cost these days. And our organization, as well as other arts organizations, can really use help right now. So if you enjoyed what you saw and experienced today, please share our Messiah Sing-Along video with friends. And if you or any of them are able to, we'd welcome your support at mosingers.com/support. So that's my public service announcement. But again, our Messiah Sing-Along will be available on demand at that same YouTube link that we made available today for the premiere. It'll be available there till January 1st. We've also posted it on the MOS Facebook page, so you can access it there or share it from there. And while you're on our YouTube channel, we invite you, of course, to enjoy our other concerts. We've been adding new concerts from our archives every day, every week almost. So we invite you to come back, visit, listen to some Christmas music, maybe this weekend next there. Keep an eye out for our new post there. If you want to know more about what Michael O'Neill Singers does in this COVID situation online, visit our website. Again, it's mosingers.com. And there you can learn about our online singing program and even register if you want. Our next program for online singing is coming up. It'll start the end of January, but you can look now for choral classics and see what we'll be rehearsing and singing together online this winter. That's all I have. If you have any questions about MOS, enter them in the chat now, or again, engage with us at our website, or you can always email staff@mosingers.com. We really appreciate your participation and your support. That's all I have.
All right. Well, thanks to all of you. Brent, Peter, Allan, thank you so much for being with us today on this. And Cammie, thank you for everything you do.
You're very welcome. I'm, as you all said, we're all at home these days. I don't know that I do that much, but I too thank you all for joining us, and Michael for what you're doing. Everybody, Merry Christmas, panelists.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, my friends.
Much love to you all. You guys feel like family, so I'm so happy you're in my life, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Brent.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thanks.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
See you next year.
All right, Merry Christmas.
Okay. Bye-bye.